Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 71 of Lady K Sailing. In this episode, two sailors get lost in Manhattan, and we're taking you guys with us for the tour. Also, we're going to talk all about cruising guides, why you might need them, and also why you might not. Stay tuned, it's going to be a good one. Alright guys, so we got a good night's sleep and now we are going to go into Manhattan. We need a couple of things, hardware stores, stuff like that. So we're going to pop over, get in the dinghy, go over to, we're at that 79th Street boat basin on a mooring ball, and when you stay here it's 30 bucks a night, which is, I mean, pretty good rental for Upper West Side. But anyway, 30 bucks a night, you get access to the marina. They have free laundry here, free showers, free dinghy dock, and then you can walk right onto 79th Street up to Broadway, and you've got the subway and full access to all of Manhattan within walking distance. So pretty sweet place to be. We're gonna go do that now and get some stuff, and we're gonna bring the camera with us. So let's go check it out. So it's a rule in general at dinghy docks, you do not put your motor up because your prop will gouge other dinghies. But everybody here seems to have their motor up, so I have to worry a little bit about our dinghy. I won't put our motor up because it's just rude to other dinghies. Anyway, here's what it is. Here's Manhattan. To security. Okay, we went through airport security over there. Take all your stuff off, take your belt off, put it in the bin, get x-rayed, walk through the metal detector, and now we're in the World Trade Center building. Sweet. All right, guys, we are splitting from New York. Kind of sad because Manhattan's a pretty cool spot, but yeah, we're getting ready to go clean up the deck a little. LA is dropping the mooring ball right now. We are slack tide right now, and the tide's about to start going up the Hudson. And the cool thing about going upriver is we'll probably have the tide the entire day, because up there it's a little bit later than it is here, switching to go up. So as you go up, you get new tide, and it just keeps pushing you in that direction all day long. So pretty cool. We got 2 lines on the mooring ball. And that'll be that. Goodbye, New York. It's been a slice. A lot of boats here on the moorings. Oh, I guess I should go do my job. We're free.
We're off.
We're going. A lot of tide in here, so you got to be behind the wheel. Hey guys, so we're going to spend some time talking about cruising guides, and I have a Skipper Bob book here. This is one of the most famous options for a cruising guide, and to give you a brief idea of what a cruising guide is, it's basically a book that somebody else wrote that gives you advice and really, really great information about where you might be intending to take your boat. So this one here is anchorages along the Intercoastal Waterway. That's important if you're going down the east coast of the U.S. or up the east coast of the U.S. and you plan to use the ICW some of the way, all of the way, whatever it is. Skipper Bob does an extremely good job at telling you every little spot that you can anchor, every little marina that there is, where to watch out for strong currents or shoaling or things like that. So I'm going to give you a quick, brief overview of a couple of pages from this book so you can get an idea of how much information is really in here and what you can really expect if you're going to buy one of these books. They're about 20 bucks for one of these books, and he's got a bunch of them. He covers the Erie Canal, the ICW, all different kinds of routes everywhere. So depending on how far you're going in your boat, you might need to buy 3 or 4 or 5 of these things. And there's not just Skipper Bob. There's a whole bunch of different writers that have written these things. The downside to one of these is that they become outdated very quickly. He'll talk about a shoal in one of the Georgia inlets. And if that gets dredged, this is done. It's no longer accurate. Also, he'll talk about how something's, really, really deep and everything's great. And then, a hurricane goes through, and especially in Georgia or North Carolina, South Carolina, a hurricane will change everything. It'll push sand where sand wasn't before. It'll move sand where sand was. It really changes everything. So the book has a downside in that it's not real time. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's take a look at the book. So the first thing I want to make note of is that Skipper Bob has come up with a numeric code system, and this applies to every anchorage. He's got a 5-digit code system. The first digit applies to how good it is at wind protection, followed by current protection, wake protection, scenic beauty of the anchorage, and ease of shopping. So a 4 being the best and a 1 being the worst, that's something to take note of because every anchorage has this 5-digit code, and it'll help you pick where you want to anchor. Okay, so the first section I want to look at with you guys, and probably the easiest to make my example and make the points I'm trying to make, is I'm going to look at the northern Florida section. It's very, very straight shot from northern Florida to southern Florida, so it's the easiest to understand in the book. A very common stop in northern Florida is Fernandina Beach. A lot of people stop here. it's just a really, really good place in the middle of everything. So he warns, when you get to Fernandina Beach, there are strong currents in the area. So that's nice to know. Then there's a couple of different places to stop. He's got an anchorage listed here, west of the ICW, between Red 10 and Red 12. Very good information to have. You wouldn't even need a chart to find this anchorage. Now, here's our 5-digit code that we were talking about. So 411113. So we know 4 is our wind protection. So 4 is very, very good. So there must be trees or something here. Very good wind protection. 1 is our current protection. So there's going to be tidal current there, and it's going to be pretty bad. A 1 is worst case scenario. And then the next one is our wake protection. So we are going to get waked if we stay here. There's probably a lot of boat traffic. The next one is our scenery, or our scenic value. Not very scenic by the looks of it, because it's a 1, worst case scenario. Shopping is a 3 though, so quite good shopping. So that's interesting to know if you're looking for stuff. The next one is you can pick up a mooring. He's got who owns it, how much it costs, comes with a dinghy dock, showers, trash disposal, and a pump out. Very, very nice. An alternative place to go, he's got listed here, and it's got a little bit better numbers. So that's very, very interesting to know. And he tells you what mile marker that is. These are statute mile markers, not nautical miles. That's important to remember. His mile markers go from north to south. So this is 716 miles from the beginning of the ICW, which in this book is considered to be the Hudson. So interesting to know, but you can kind of plan your day from this. If you want to do from 716 miles to somewhere around 740, we can go over to the next page. And now we can see we're around the 740 mark. We actually do have some options. Sisters Creek, good wind protection, good current protection, reasonably poor wake protection, reasonably poor scenic, and no shopping at all, basically. But we know we can anchor there. There's some information about the anchorage, GPS coordinates. Really, really, really good information to have. If we want to do another 40 miles the next day, we can go look for around 780 miles. So the next page. And do we have anything around 780? This is where Salt Run starts. That's interesting to know. Also, the St. Augustine Inlet is there. But we then have, at around 780, we actually have St. Augustine, which is a spot everyone stops on the way up or down the canal. All of the information you could want to know about St. Augustine, even the P.O. Box zip code, should you need to have something mailed to you. Very, very, very interesting. Another really good example, if we know we're going to be doing mileage up to about 830 miles, or 830 mile marker, we can stop in Seabreeze. Again, there's our code and a whole bunch of information about that actual hop and what you're going to find there. Convenience store is 2 blocks away. Just really, really, really good information here. Now, that's the Skipper Bob cruising book. Again, there are lots. If you're going to the Bahamas, you'll definitely want to have the Bahamas Explorer charts. They give you a lot of the same sort of information. Very, very good to have. I had a set. I gave them away when I left the Bahamas because another cruiser would benefit from them. You can also pick up books like Passages South. This is Van Sant's. This is on about every sailboat in the Caribbean. Probably the most common book you'll see on a sailboat. And it gets you all the way from basically the end of Florida down to Grenada. So it gives you a lot of advice on how to sail it or how to motor it if you're in a trawler, how to avoid the winds and waves, what month to go where. It doesn't give you a whole lot of advice on anchorages, though. This is really just a book on which route to take, not where to stay. So that is sort of lacking in that aspect, but it's an extremely good book. If you're going to make the trip, this is good to have. Now, I want to talk about what these are actually lacking. Obviously, they go out of date very, very quickly, but there's another really, really big thing that I don't like about cruising guides, and you saw mine. I used it extensively. There's highlighted things, there's checkmark things. Definitely use them extensively. I do recommend having them on board, but there is a big problem with them other than the fact that they go out of date. And that big problem is they're written by one person. Even somebody that's crowdsourced a bit. Skipper Bob has taken in information from other cruisers and use that to update the Skipper Bob books. So that's nice, but there's nothing real time, and there's not a whole bunch of other cruisers giving opinions. And that's where it sort of falls short for me. That's why I sort of lean on Active Captain a lot more. So I'll show you one of the stops on the Skipper Bob book, and I'll show you that on Active Captain for comparison. Okay guys, so here's a good example of where the Skipper Bob helps you get into an anchorage, but it is lacking in information compared to Active Captain. And I've actually anchored here. We're looking at Daytona Beach. And he's got really, really good wind protection, good current, good wake protection. Not so scenic, and the shopping is okay. I would agree with that, definitely, because I was just there. So proceed northwest of Red 44 into charted deep water. Anchor in 5 to 6 feet. You can dinghy to Halifax Harbor. So not a lot of information in Skipper Bob, but this is actually very, very common anchorage. So we're kind of lacking here a little bit. Let's take a look at it on Active Captain. Okay, guys, so we're in Daytona Beach, as you can see when I zoom out here. And we're going to look for that Red 44 that Skipper Bob referred to. And it's actually right here. I've stayed in this anchorage, so I actually know exactly where it is. So you pull ahead of Red 44 on the north side, and there's our little anchor icon. So we're just going to click on that, and we're going to check out what Active Captain says instead of Skipper Bob. So large open anchorage just off the ICW. Enter the chart north of R44. We already knew that. Let's see what the reviews say. We've got 38 other cruisers have left reviews, and I want to stress that you do not need to be online to see these reviews. These download when you download the map, so don't worry about having internet. The first one is we followed the directions, decided to anchor where it was charted at 14 feet. We actually saw 9 feet. No other boats at the time. Way less water than charted, same as the guy before. A repeat stop for a quick overnight. Nothing really bad here. Anchored in 14 was actually 7.5 at low tide. Anchored between the two, 200 feet out of the channel, plenty of water. We draw 500 feet of chain. Excellent holding. Good to know. Makes me kind of want to stay there. Another good review. So this is all other cruisers talking about the same thing Skipper Bob was talking about, except this is going to be more up to date, and it's going to be a whole bunch of different opinions. So there'll be some good, some bad, and you have to kind of go through it and decide for yourself. This is what's missing from the cruising guides. You don't have this real-time information from a whole group, a whole crowdsourced group of other people. So my recommendation would be use Navionics with Active Captain and get the cruising guide and follow both. Come to a decision based on all of the information, not just the information in a book that might be a few years old, but also not just the information that other people are giving in this very public forum that's very crowdsourced. So those are my thoughts. Hey guys, good morning and happy Friday. Got my healthy breakfast drink, green stuff, and I wanted to share some stuff with you guys and get you guys caught up a little bit. So as you know, the videos are about 2 weeks behind. So the video you're watching now, where me and LA are in Manhattan, and then we're working our way up the Hudson. That was a couple weeks ago. What's happening now, if you follow along on Facebook and Instagram, is I've actually made it back to my home port. There's a few reasons for that, one of which, and key of most, was to check into customs. I have to clear customs for 15 days on Canadian soil, but that's an opportunity to actually refit the boat as much as possible, as quickly as possible. It's very, very difficult to take care of the boat when she's moving every day, and you have sort of a customs deadline, so you really can't sit for very long anywhere, and you don't have a car wherever you land, and there's not always a boat store anywhere nearby. So coming to the home port made a lot of sense. Now there's a car, there's boat stores everywhere. I've got help. I've been able to visit with friends and family, and it's just been tremendous. So I've been in the home port for 6 days, but I wanted to share with you sort of why that's so bittersweet. It's sweet because you get to see all your people and visit with everybody and rekindle friendships and things like that. And of course there's the Candace of it all, which I'm not going to spoil it. I know a lot of you guys are asking about that, but the GoPro was rolling on when I pulled in, and she was here, and that's all I'm going to tell you. You'll have to wait a couple weeks to see that. So anyway, on to the bittersweet of it all. Today's Friday, so I have to make an episode, right? So I'm sitting in the boat this morning. I got up at about 6, and I'm sitting there, and I tend to get, I'm a sailor, right? So you get moving immediately as soon as the sun comes up. So I start making the episode before I've even had breakfast, and I'm watching the footage of Valet and I touring around Manhattan and driving the boat up the Hudson, and I even watched the mast taking down, which will be probably next episode. But anyway, I'm having to watch the footage of the adventure that ended for me 6 days ago. Didn't end, but you know, it paused for, you know, at least a couple of weeks because of the boat work and everything and customs. So but I haven't been adventuring in 6 days, and that 6 days has been just an emotional whirlwind. You get to see all these people and everything's great, but it's sort of starting to wind down now. I'm falling into a groove, and the excitement is over, and now it's time to really start focusing on the boat. And I'm realizing as I watch this footage that the excitement is over. Like, I'm not in Manhattan. I'm not adventuring right now. I'm sitting at a dock and we haven't moved. I mean, we've gone out a couple of times, but not really very far, and it was just to go swimming, because we really haven't had wind on the lakes for the last 6 days, actually more than that. But anyway, as soon as you stop adventuring and stop moving and stop going to new places and meeting new people, there's a real bitterness to that. And it's actually, I had to stop making this video and walk away for an hour, because it sort of sucks watching it and thinking, man, now I've been sitting still for 6 days. I'm not in Manhattan anymore. I'm not in Cape May. I'm not in the Bahamas. I'm here, the place I left from, and it's an amazing accomplishment. I'm very, very proud of myself, and I'm proud of you guys for helping along the way, and I'm very proud of Lady K, proud of Candace and LA and RJ and Will and all these people who have helped along the way. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. But at the same time, I'm sort of sad because I'm sitting still. So I guess just one of those bittersweet moments that I like to share with you guys. Real, honest, this is cruising, right? So kind of sucks. But anyway, that's it for this episode. Next week, we drop the mast ourselves. We didn't pay a marina to do it. We drop the mast ourselves, and we start on the Erie Canal. And my footage of the Erie Canal is intended to be a full-on, every single lock, all the bridges, information about it as we go along and how to do it. I'll try to keep it as concise as I can, but I know that there's no really good guides to the Erie Canal on a sailboat. I think mine's the most extensive from last year, and the next best one is going to be probably Sean and Julia, because I used theirs, and they only made it to Kingston, New York. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to try to document as much as I can for you guys so that you can see what it's like to do it on a sailboat. Anyway, that's it for this episode. If you find some value in it or you enjoyed it, hit a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so that you can see the episode next week. See you guys later. Have a good week. Enjoy your breakfast.